Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emily, and in this video I'll be flipping this end table set for my own home. These were listed near me for free with another set of nightstands I already flipped. I'll add a link to that video here if you want to see it. At first I didn't really think these were anything special just based on a grainy marketplace photo, and my plan was to paint them. But if you're a lover of wood, don't worry because that did not stay the plan. I started off by cleaning these with a mixture of 50-50 water and vinegar and a bit of Dawn. I also always make sure to clean the insides of the drawers on all my projects because it's secondhand furniture and you never know what it may have seen in its first 50 years of life. If you're a fellow furniture flipper, you'll have to tell me in the comments what the best or worst thing you've ever found in a drawer is. I know y'all have some stories for me. About right here is when I looked at the top and said, I actually don't want to paint these, which is a rare occurrence for me because I prefer the look and process of painted furniture. But I saw the burled veneer on top of this and I decided that it would be worth stripping back everything and keeping it wood. After cleaning, I made sure to rinse everything thoroughly with clean water and I let it dry out overnight before I started with clean strip the next day. I have heard before that you're not supposed to cover clean strip with plastic, that it's just meant to be gooped on and then just add more as needed if it dries out. But this project made me question that, and I wonder if I should have grabbed the plastic wrap. I let it sit for the recommended 15 minutes, but it dried out super quickly, and I don't know if it's that it was sitting in the hot sun or if this was chalk paint and that made it more difficult, but it was super gummy and hard to scrape off. Usually clean strip works really well for me and is one of my favorite paint strippers. I really do think this was a combination of factors though. Anytime you're stripping paint, you want to make sure that you're in a well-ventilated area and that you're wearing gloves to protect your skin. I always have my garage door open when I'm working on projects, and I also had a fan blowing on me in this case. That way any fumes were blowing away from me. I kept scraping until I had gotten as much gunk off as possible, and then I started scrubbing off any residue with water. I'm also using a plastic bristle stripping brush here to help with any stubborn bits of paint left behind, and everything I use in this project will be linked for you in the description below. Since I wasn't having much luck with clean strip, I decided to try some citrus strip I had on hand. Citrus strip can get a bad rap a lot of the time, but it actually worked a lot better in this case. Anytime I use citrus strip, I apply a very thick coat of it, make sure to cover it with plastic, and push out any air bubbles so it can't dry out. And even though you don't want to go breathing it in, it doesn't hurt that it smells better than clean strip. Citrus Strip recommends that you leave the stripper on for at least 30 minutes and up to 24 hours. I try to keep each section around the 1 hour mark because I think that really is the sweet spot for it. In my experience, if it's left until it's close to that 24-hour mark, it's going to dry out and turn almost chalky on you. If that happens, you can attempt to scrape it off, you can add more stripper, or you can wash it clean with water. When it was time to peel back the plastic, it had worked almost perfectly. Each row of paint coming off here just reconfirmed the decision to bring these back to wood. I honestly can't believe that someone painted them in the first place. Whenever you're scraping paint off, you want to be careful not to gouge the wood, especially if you're working with veneer. It needs to be a slow and steady process. Once I had as much as possible scraped off, I again scrubbed with a stripping brush and clean water to remove any residue, and I let everything dry out before I started sanding with 100 grit sandpaper to remove anything the stripper and scrubbing had left behind. But before I started sanding, I had to let Shotzi investigate a bit. Now this project had a lot of sanding, and I did it all by hand. It had side panels that my sanders wouldn't fit into, and then I was worried that I would get swirl marks on the veneer tops, so I committed to doing everything by hand. If you're enjoying this video so far, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and like it, subscribe to my channel to see more furniture flipping videos. It's completely free. Also leave me a comment. I love chatting with my viewers. I'd love to know if you were flipping these end tables for your own home. Would you have painted them, or would you have gone through all this hand sanding? Along with sanding, I also used my carbide scraper on a few of the tough areas. Now, I have a feeling that a few of you are thinking, Emily, why don't you just use acetone? And trust me, I wish I had thought of it sooner. I did for the second table, but for this first one, my brain glitched and told me that sanding was the only option. And yes, I still have to sand after using acetone, but it's a little easier with the tough stuff removed, right? So I guess we're just going to consider this video 4 to 5 ways to remove a finish. Because if you're counting so far, that's 2 different stripping agents: sanding, scraping with a carbide scraper, and coming up soon, acetone. I'm just making it educational for you. The hardest part was trying to get all of the leftover paint out of these grooves on the side panels, started with the edge of my carbide scraper, and then I moved to a dental pick, which allowed me to get in all of the tight spots and clear out any large bits from the grain. Very back and forth here. Scrape, sand, dust everything off, and check it before doing it all over again. I put off finishing the second one for about 5 months because I didn't want to go through all that sanding again, and then the day of I realized I could try acetone on it. I say try because acetone will not work on every finish. I recommend testing it in a small section that's not noticeable before diving in, but thankfully in this case it worked really well. I'm using a few different methods here. I'm using steel wool and a stripping brush, and I'm also using paper towels to keep the acetone from flashing off or evaporating as quickly. It needs to stay somewhat wet to loosen up the finish. You do need to use a lot of it, but it does work quickly. After just a minute or two, I started scrubbing with steel wool, and I was able to wipe away any excess with paper towels. Just like with the paint stripper, you need to be in a well-ventilated area when working with acetone. This stuff is super strong, and you absolutely do not want to breathe it in or have it sitting on your skin. So, well-ventilated area, but also it's best to wear a respirator and heavy-duty gloves too. I just kept working section by section here, and even though it was a lot of scrubbing, it was so much better than sanding, and it went so much quicker. I have heard several furniture flippers say that acetone needs to be in a glass or heavy-duty metal container. I didn't have one, but it didn't melt the plastic container I had it in. I am saving pickle jars from now on, though. You can kind of see here how the wood is just being brought back to life with all of the leftover bits being removed, and it is so pretty. You'll have to let me know in the comments. Do you prefer using acetone to remove finishes, or is there something else you like better? After finishing with the acetone, I sanded both tables with 150 grit before I vacuumed away any dust hiding in the corners and crevices. And after vacuuming, I went over everything one more time with a damp microfiber cloth to remove anything that the vacuum hadn't picked up. And I always run a cloth like this between sanding grits so the dust can't cause scratch and swirl marks. Once all of that dust was taken care of, it was time to start applying my paint washes. I tested a few different variations to make sure that I was going in the right direction, and I started with the green wash first to correct any of the red or orange tones. This is Fusion Mineral Paint's Conservatory Green. I'm terrible about measuring for washes, but the general rule of thumb is usually 1 part paint to 10 parts water. I usually just do a spoonful of paint and then fill whichever measuring cup I'm using. I like to keep things on the thinner, more watery side because I can always do a second coat or add more paint if I need to. Something I didn't think of to begin with was that for larger areas, I should have sprayed it with water first. That just helps prevent any streaks in the wash and makes it go on more smoothly. You also want to do your best to keep a wet edge. This also prevents streaks because your edge won't dry out and then be doubled over when you meet up with it again from a different angle. I'm just working section by section here, painting on the wash and almost immediately wiping it back with a dry, lint-free cloth. I'm also keeping an eye out for any drips. Using a paint wash is almost kind of like using a water-based stain. With both of them, it's better to spray larger areas with water first to give it more open time so it can't dry out on you, and you should be using enough that you could write in it with your finger. Since the tops are veneer, I wanted to be careful how much liquid I was giving it at one time, so I gave the green wash overnight to dry before applying my tan wash the next day. I'm using Fusion Mineral Paint's Cathedral Taupe color here. Again, I don't have exact measurements for you, and it really does depend on the wood species you're working with. I just applied this the same way I did the green wash, working in sections, keeping a wet edge, and watching for any drips. And again, I forgot to spray this top section with water here, so by the time I finish the side where I started, it's beginning to dry out, which is going to leave me with some streaks. Thankfully, I remembered to spray the second one and it came out beautifully, but I did have to sand this first one back and redo it. This process does end up being pretty repetitive, but at least it doesn't involve losing my fingerprints to sanding. Thankfully, it doesn't take as long either, and it's way more rewarding. Now, the lighter wood and tan wash looks are all the rage right now, and have been for a little bit, but I keep hearing that darker wood is also becoming more popular. I don't know that I've seen that in my area yet, though. I'd love to know in the comments if you prefer lighter tan wash looks or if you love darker wood tones, and what are you seeing in your area? Finally remembered to spray it with water first this time, and I split this up in half so it wouldn't dry out on me before I got to the other side of it. Once the first table was dry and I saw how streaky it looked on the top, I decided to redo it. This is just 180 grit sandpaper, and I got these sanding blocks a few weeks ago, and they are so helpful when it comes to hand sanding. I have these linked below in the description also. Going back in one more time with the green wash, and this time remembering to spray it with that water first. I let this dry for about 2 hours and then came back and did the tan wash again, misting it with water first, keeping a wet edge, and wiping it back almost immediately with a dry rag. This next step is optional, but I prefer doing it a lot of the time when I'm doing tan washes. This is Dixie Belle's Van Dyke Brown Glaze. Sometimes a paint wash on its own can make the wood look a little too washed out and pale, so a glaze just kind of highlights the wood grain again and warms things back up a bit. Typically with glazes, you're meant to seal your project first, and then glaze just settles into the corners and crevices and it's wiped away easily. For this process, I'm either misting the surface or my brush first and then using it more like a stain or a wash. And I'm applying it about the same way I did my washes, only I'm misting every surface now instead of just the larger ones. I'm still working in sections and still wiping it back right away. I feel like this is one of those things that doesn't quite show up on camera, but I can definitely see it in person, and I definitely notice it once everything is sealed. Again, definitely feels repetitive, but furniture flipping is also therapeutic, so it's a good opportunity to put on something you enjoy listening to and just sew now. Since water-based products do have the tendency to raise the wood grain a bit, I went over everything with a fine grit sanding pad. This won't take off any of my layers, it just smooths things out. I've had this squishy sanding pad for a while now. I think it probably started around a 600 grit, and now I have no idea what exactly it is, maybe 800, but it's perfect for this final sanding and for in-between coats of polyacrylic. I'm using Varathane's water-based polyurethane for this project in a satin sheen. I love this stuff. It's pretty easy to apply and it levels out really great too. I just pour it into a shallow container, then I'm going to apply it with a sealing sponge that I have. I'm still making sure to watch for any drips or pooling here, and I'm taking an artist brush to take care of any of that pooling or stop and start marks I may have. Across larger surfaces, I'm also trying to overlap my sponge strokes by around half. I'm applying 4 coats to each table and a 5th coat to the top of each one, sanding in between each with that high grit sanding sponge. Any high grit paper that's 400 or higher will work for this step. You can even use a brown paper bag. For the last 3 coats of sanding on the top, I decided to try a wet sanding in between coats and after the last one. I saw another furniture flipper do this to get a super smooth, glossy finish, and I've been wanting to try it. I have to say I am definitely a fan. I'm just misting the surface with water, sanding, and then wiping the excess water off with a paper towel. The very last step is to add the hardware back to the drawers. I forgot to film it, but I just polished the original brass pulls with some Brasso, and they look perfect. Here's one more look back at where this set started. I'm guessing that someone started to strip this set and halfway through they gave up. Painted or stained, these end tables have great bones and I'm so happy to be keeping them. For someone who loves painted finishes, I have to say I'm so proud of these and the way they turned out. The wood tone is warm without being heavy, and that burled veneer on top is still my favorite. To me, they were absolutely worth all the work I put into them, and I'm so happy that I was able to modernize them for my own home. I would love to know your thoughts on this makeover. If you want to leave me a comment, I love hearing from you and chatting about all things furniture flipping. If you enjoyed this video, it would mean a lot to me if you could hit the like button, and even more so if you want to subscribe and see more furniture flips. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you all next time.